Miss Williams, did you hear anything from Mr. Murdoch yesterday? Had he planned to be here? Okay. I know, I said, okay. The time may have snagged him. The time may have snagged him. Do you want me to call him? Okay. Yeah. Oh, sounds good. Committee of the whole meeting to order. At this time, I will ask everyone to please stand for the pledge, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Holy God, the gifts of wisdom and understanding are so important and precious. They are qualities that have always had the power to make a profound difference in our world. Thus, O Lord, we ask that you grant new portions of these very gifts to each of us tonight. After all, the needs and challenges which confront our leaders are formidable. May our leaders today join together and rise to the occasion, accomplishing great good for everyone. This we humbly pray in your name, O Lord. Amen. We have Ms. Simmons, our chairman, on phone. Ms. Simmons, can you please say hello?
Hello, everyone.
Can everyone hear? Thank you. And we have some board members that may be arriving soon. We do have a forum for our business and reports. At this time, with the approval of the agenda, it has been requested that under new business, under number 4, the ESSER 3 public input report be moved to the ESSER update under finance number 7. Is there any objection? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Into public input, do we have any? Having none, we'll move into old business. Is there any old business, board members?
Just wanted to be sure about our board retreat, if that could be confirmed.
Yes, I do have it in my superintendent's update.
Thank you. And just for clarification, that is?
So it is September 30th, Saturday, September 30th. It is scheduled for from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. here at the district office boardroom.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Sure. Yes. Also, under old business, is there any professional development that would like to be shared by board members?
Ms. Simmons, I will defer to you if you would like to speak about the law conference, or if not, I would be more than happy to.
Well, I wanted to do that on Tuesday when I arrive so I can give an update on both of the conferences. If you want to speak on behalf of what your knowledge is, you can do that, and I will update the district on Tuesday at the regular board meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Sounds good. So I did, along with Ms. Simmons and Superintendent Williams, had the opportunity to attend the school board law conference a couple of weekends ago in Greenville. It was very interesting and very beneficial to hear a lot of the things that are going on, not only in our state, but also across the country in regards to legal matters that deal with our schools. I was able to attend several breakout sessions. I would love to tell you what they were named, but my memory is not that good at this point. But there were several things about litigation, about the parental rights bills and stuff like that, and some of those things, how they're moving forward. And there was also an update on some of the things that our state government will be looking at this year as far as school policies and stuff. So there are a lot of things that are going on as far as the legal aspect, lots of things with parental rights and making sure that our parents have some say and some input into the things that are happening in our school districts and our public schools and stuff. And then just a lot of information from our attorneys as far as board members of those things that we need to be very cognizant of, and those things that we need to be very careful to make sure that we keep the district in the very best position that it can be in. And then again, some policy matters that probably some things that we will need to look at very soon coming up, just to kind of make sure that we are very clear on some policies that maybe have provided some trouble spots for other districts around the state. So it's very informative, very good conference.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Ms. Simmons is going to update us on her professional development next week. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Simmons?
No, that's all.
Thank you.
Under old business, is it appropriate, the policy committee met yesterday, and I know maybe some people could watch it online if they want to give input and weren't able to be there, so can we just maybe highlight for people that might be interested in giving input?
Certainly, the policy committee met yesterday, and those policies will be on the agenda next Tuesday at the regular scheduled board meeting. Thank you, Ms. Strobel. Any other old business? Moving on to new business, Ms. Williams.
Okay. All right, greetings, board members. How are you today?
Good.
All right, good. All right, I stand before you tonight to request the purchase of a district vehicle. And I just wanted to kind of give you some information and some of the reasons why we're asking for this. So we currently have two vehicles because, as you know, one of our vehicles was stolen. We have a truck, but that truck is not in the best condition, and basically it can be used for transporting things around the district, but not for any type of out-of-district travel. The new vehicle that I'm requesting will be used mostly for out-of-district travel in order to save money on our out-of-district travel expenses. In August, we spent $44,498.50 on travel. $14,452.68 of that $44,000 came from the general fund. The other remaining about $30,045 came from federal funds. So I just wanted to give you some context behind, the amount of money, and we do have those reports for you tonight in your packet as well. So a vehicle would probably cost us, I'm thinking approximately $35,000 to $40,000, maybe a little less, based upon, what type of vehicle, if it's a used vehicle, those kinds of things, whatever you deem necessary. And the funds for that one-time purchase would come from our capital projects funds, our 8% funds, that we should be receiving by the end of September. And we just want our staff to be safe as they're traveling. So we need to provide some type of reliable transportation for them. We do have one car, as I said before, and that one is used for a lot of in-district travel. Some of our staff members that go from school to school use that vehicle quite often. So if any staff members that are attending out-of-district conferences need transportation for any reason, if their car is not, in the best of shape to go, then they can have the option of using it. And then in certain situations, as we are approving our prior approval forms, whenever the car is available, we can also require that the district car is used, because we would use less, it would take less funds to use the district vehicle. We wouldn't have to pay as much money back in travel expenses if they use the district vehicle. So I just wanted to give you that for your information and your consideration. I know that you won't be voting on that tonight, but I just wanted to present that to you.
Superintendent Williams, a couple questions. As far as the mileage, do we have any idea how much we spent expense-wise on just mileage?
Well, the travel amount that I was able to get from finance for August was $44,498, but I'm not sure if that's just travel or if that's reimbursement for registrations and different things of that nature. Ms. Barrett, can you speak on that for me?
So I guess just for clarification real quick, what I'm looking for is just the money that we would have spent on mileage reimbursement to kind of be able to look at justifying buying a vehicle. How much are we spending on mileage monthly? Sure. Okay, thank you. And also, I know you mentioned the other vehicle that was stolen. Have we recovered that vehicle? I know the vehicle was recovered.
Yeah.
Have we recovered that vehicle from
insurance?
Well, is the insurance going to pay for it? Okay.
Yes, there is a claim out there for insurance. We haven't received the payment yet, but we are looking to receive something, and whatever we receive, we would use that as well to purchase the new vehicle as well. Okay. It won't be an astronomical amount of money, because the car was not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but we would use whatever we get from the insurance to go towards it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The questions?
So then, just for clarification, Superintendent Williams, so then we have one working car.
Yes.
And then we have the truck. Now, the
Yes.
truck, saying that it's not in the best condition, the truck is only 2 or 3 years old, right? That came in that fleet that our building and
Yeah.
grounds did before?
Right. That was one of the buildings and grounds vehicles that when they got new vehicles, then they gave that one, then we used that one. So, yes, I'm not sure what the year is. 16? Okay.
And that's
So
the
it's
one-
7 years old.
Just for clarification, Mr. McNeely, I believe you spoke at a previous meeting and saying brakes needed to be redone.
The truck needed wheel hubs put on it. We had new wheel hubs put on. You right down the road in a shape like this.
I got you.
New wheel hubs were put on that truck. There's over 100-something thousand miles on it. 2016, it was a buildings and grounds work truck. So it is a work truck.
Okay, so it wasn't one of those that came with that fleet thing, okay. Okay. I wonder, just out of curiosity, I know we got several vehicles in that fleet that we did. I wonder if maybe we couldn't switch out, once we get this one fixed, maybe switch it out with one of the newer trucks and give Buildings and Grounds, since they're doing more local travel, give them that truck and get one of the newer trucks added to the more travel for the district. I just wonder if maybe that wouldn't be a,
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So take the truck that we currently have,
let's get it fixed as
get that
best
one
we can.
fixed, give that
and
one
maybe
back to
Correct.
Buildings and Grounds and switch one of theirs out for
Correct.
us.
I wonder if that's an option. I wonder if that's a possibility.
I
That
mean,
way,
we-
that way we would have a newer truck to be able to use for more longer
out-of-district
travel instead
travel.
of just the local stuff.
I understand. I mean, that is a consideration we can make. Yeah, we can certainly look into that, Mr. Irwin.
Ms. Williams, as I look at the capital projects budget report as given to us for the month of August, the very last item, and this is, Ms. Barrett, I'm looking at the account number 527. There's a cargo van and a truck that are budgeted for. Can you speak to, I don't know what fund that is, but I know we already have some cars and vehicles in the budget for capital projects. And this is, I'm assuming, a new unbudgeted expense that you're requesting of the board?
So this would, yes, it would be new, but it would come from our incoming capital projects funds that would come at the end of September.
Okay, but we don't have a budget line item for that?
No.
Budget line item that I think, we had, Building and Ground had requested a vehicle, and that's in there. I don't know whether or not it's still needed, but that's $50,000 that they had requested.
Yep.
And then we had a combo van that was requested, and that was for the, for TCTC, so they can carry their food and everything around like that, so that was in there too.
Okay, I just, if we, a little concerned, and sharing openly that, the board did have a consideration for a car purchase last year. It was not approved, and then we just completed the budget process. So I'd love to have seen that line item in there if we knew that this was a needed item for the district. And then two, seeing already vehicles anticipated in the budget, just maybe when you shared with us the mileage already, and we know that there can be a cost benefit to the purchase of this new car, but if you can provide that information and just speak to those other cars that are budgeted for in the capital projects before we vote next Tuesday, that would be
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if those vehicles have been purchased. I don't think they've been purchased, but we will most definitely check on that and have some information for you the next time.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Williams. The schedule of the 2024 Board of Trustee meetings.
So in your packets is the schedule of board meetings for the 2024 calendar year. So it's from January until December. The schedule primarily indicates the second Tuesday of each month for committee of the whole meetings and the third Tuesday of each month for regular board meetings, as we do right now. There is one deviation in June because of the annual School Administrators Conference, the I3 conference that usually takes place during the third week of June. So June's regular board meeting is scheduled for June 25th in lieu of June 18th. And that's basically the only change. And this is just given to you for your consideration, because I think that we normally vote on this like maybe in November, but we did it, so we just gave it to you so you can look at it and have some time before you decide on voting on it.
Just noteworthy is that change on the 25th is also for budget purposes, and that is the last Tuesday of the month. I know you mentioned the administrative conference as well, but I know that has always been the last Tuesday because of budget preparation, right, Ms. Barrett? And then, do we need times?
Well, we can add that to it, but, we have our committee of the whole meetings at 5.
Oh,
And
thank you.
and I think it's on the bottom.
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
thank
I
you.
see that, thank
It's
you.
on the bottom, yeah. But 5 o'clock for committee of the whole and 6 o'clock for regular board meetings.
Any other questions?
So, yeah, when are we voting on this?
We can vote whenever you all are ready to vote. Like I said, you usually don't vote on this until around November.
Okay.
But we had it done, so we just put it in your packet for your consideration. And I mean, you can vote on it at next Tuesday's board meeting if you'd like, or we can wait until the November board meeting as we usually do.
Is there any kind of policy requirements or anything that we have to vote on this by a certain time?
I'm not sure. We will check with the attorneys, and I'll make sure, I'll get with Ms. Simmons to see. By this, okay. Thank you, Allison. Okay.
But you need to do it by your January board meeting.
The only concern is obviously, we don't have our calendar for the next school year created. And so, and two, I know at times we've had HR events or student recognitions at different times that may or may not coincide with what's here. And if that is a change that's needed, we can always just change.
We can just make the change, yeah.
change. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Williams. We'll go ahead and keep you while you're up here and move into the superintendent's report.
That's fine.
Thank you.
All right, so I have a PowerPoint that Mr. Humphreys is going to cast for us. All right, thank you. All right, at each of our meetings, I always highlight a community partner that is assisting the district in meeting its goals. And as everyone knows, our goal is to have greater student outcomes. So we like to partner with local businesses, local venues, state venues, national venues. And tonight, I just wanted to highlight the Technical College of the Lowcountry because we have a partnership with them. They are working in tandem with our adult education program with Mr. Horvath, and basically they will provide credit and non-credit courses to student and adult learners. So not only do adult learners have an opportunity to take advantage of this, but also our students who are of age and have met the requirements to take these courses through TCL. We will have a workforce coordinator who will be housed in the adult education building, who will be assisting with recruiting students and also assisting students as they navigate through their coursework. They will be taking some of these courses online, and the coordinator will be Mr. Philip Taylor, which we're very, very excited about him working with us and being our partner. At our next board meeting, next Tuesday night, representatives from TCL will be here, and we will recognize them, and they will talk a little bit about this partnership. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Okay, next.
Can I ask a question real quick, Superintendent Williams? The workforce coordinator, is that a employee through TCL, or is that an employee through us, or?
An employee through TCL.
Through TCL.
So
Okay.
Mr. Taylor currently works for TCL.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to go past Parent University because that will be at our next board meeting. I just put it there. So go to the next page that talks about enrollment, and I left mine. But anyway, at last week's meeting, I shared with you the enrollment at each school for the first 10 days of school. It was broken down by school. You knew the enrollment. You saw how from the first day until I think the 10th day is what I gave you the last time. You saw how that enrollment increased. And so I wanted to give you our current enrollment. And enrollment usually stops at day 15 and then attendance starts. So our current enrollment is 4,826 students, which is down a little from last year. We had about 44, I think is what it was last year. But there's also information in your packet that you requested at the August Committee of the Whole meeting. And it basically gives you an overview of what the first day enrollment was and the 45th day enrollment was over the past 5 years. So you can just look at that for your information. On that document that you do have in your packet, you'll see that there's a field that's marked unavailable, and that's because we had a change in attendance specialist, and our current specialist wasn't able to locate that information, so that's why it's unavailable. But our current enrollment, our 2023-2024 first day enrollment was 3,820 students, and our current enrollment is 4,826 students. And then I also wanted to just clarify that our funding is determined by the 45th day and the 135th day. I may have misspoke at the last meeting, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Superintendent Williams, I see on this other chart that you gave us with day 1 and day 45 counts, there is a drastic change from day 1 to day 45, which we kind of talked about in the last meeting. I still wish there was some way that we could, I know the district did a lot to try to fix that, but is there anyone who can speak to, is there typically a increase or decrease from the day 15 count that we have to the day 45 count?
I don't.
Would anyone have that information?
She's not here. She's not here. She did tell me that if I needed to call her, I could.
No, it's not. If we can just have it for the next meeting. I'm just wondering,
yeah.
because day 45 is kind of where the money rolls. So
Right.
I'm just wondering, because we're down 100 from the 45-day enrollment from last year. So I just wonder if day 15 count is pretty accurate, or if we can still expect an uptick before day 45 or a decrease.
I can certainly get that information for you. That's a very good question, and I don't want to misspeak, so I don't want to answer that question, but I will certainly have it for you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next slide, just wanted to give you some information. I did send you an update concerning our SC Ready and our SC Pass highlights, and I just wanted to speak to it just for a minute. We will have a full presentation in October that will be presented by our data and accountability coordinator. But because these scores were released September 5th, I wanted to make sure to let you know about them. So as you know, annually, our students in grades 3 through 8 participate in the state assessment for English language arts and math, and that's called SC Ready. And this is also known as our South Carolina College and Career Ready Assessment. Students in grades 4 and 6 also participate in the PASS Science Assessment. The State Department of Education, as I said, just recently released these results for the entire state. And if you look, we are very proud of our improvements in the area of English language arts. So we had 31.75% of our students to meet or exceed expectations. Is that where we want to be? No, but it is the highest that we've been in the past 6 years since the state changed to the SC Ready assessment. That is the highest that we've been. So we're very happy about that. That's a celebration. While our English language arts made some significant progress, our students are still struggling in the areas of math and science. If you look at that slide, and just for those who may be listening in, we had, as I said, 31.75% of our students to meet and exceed expectations, compared to 25.5% from the previous year. And then in math, our district had 14.6% of our students meeting and exceeding, and we had 13.8% from the previous year. So as you can see, there was really no movement there. Our math scores are very stagnant. And then in science, we had 25.58% of our students meeting expectation, and compared to the previous year, we had 26.9%. So as you can see there, our scores are stagnant there in math and science. If you look at the next slide, this was added just to give you a visual from your feedback from sending the report, and thank you for that. But on this slide, you can see the progress of our students in the area of English language arts and math from the spring of 2018 to our 22-23 school year. Now, as you look at this graph, and you'll see there's a huge dip there for the 2019-2020 school year. Just wanted to bring to your remembrance that we didn't have a state assessment then because of the COVID pandemic. So as you look at this graph, you'll see that, if you could go back, yeah, there you go, yeah. If you look at the graph, you can see that we still have not recovered our scores since before the pandemic with math. So we're at, before COVID, with our math scores, we were at 22.8% of our students meeting and exceeding. And currently, we're at 14. So we still have not recovered from COVID when it comes to our math. So we're still working very, very hard on that. If you look at the next slide, you can see that the progress of our students in the areas of science since the 2017-18 school year, and you can see that same trend that pre-COVID, we had 35% of our students meeting and exceeding, and then post-COVID, in the 22-23 school year, we have 25.58%. So I just want you to know that, we're working very hard, and student achievement, student progress, student growth is very, very important. Our curriculum and instruction team is working very tirelessly on different initiatives and supporting our teachers and supporting things that we've written into our strategic plan to make sure that we're doing in order to see better results for our students. And I just wanted to reiterate to you that we will have a more laser-focused presentation in October, and you'll see exactly where each school, the scores for each school, how they did, and then the plan for improvement will be presented to you as well. I also wanted to let you know that during the 22-23 school year, and we had 65% of our schools that were either below average or unsatisfactory. So the state says if you have 65% or more of your schools that are below average or unsatisfactory, then your district is designated as an underperforming district. So I wanted to be transparent and let you know that that's where we are. And, we're working very hard to overcome that designation because we don't want to be designated that way. However, we have to celebrate the successes, recognizing that we do need to improve. And we realize that the time is now that we have to do that, and we have developed a plan. We have developed strategies. I want you to rest assured that we have, and you will see what that plan is at our next meeting in October. And then lastly, in this report, just wanted to let you know that we are still on tap for our board retreat. This will be our fall board retreat on September 30th from 9 until 3 o'clock. Right now it's tentatively scheduled here, but I'm working on some things to see if we can have it at another location, but I'll let you know definitely at our next board meeting next Tuesday night. That ends my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for adding the graphs so we can see the trends, and hats off for the growth in English. I know you're going to give us more, but is there a particular grade level that brought the English higher, or just a trend overall?
Well, overall, I would say overall we did pretty well in ELA. You know, we've had a very laser focus on ELA, and we've been doing some different things from, you know, instituting a new curriculum to having side-by-side coaching for teachers. We've had something called letters training for our early childhood teachers. So we've put a lot of time and energy into ELA, and we've got to do the same thing for math, and we're committed to doing that.
Superintendent Williams, were we designated as an underperforming district last year?
Yes, sir, we were,
Okay. So
We
we
were.
have been an underperforming district for
for 1 year.
many years in a row, or?
That designation was given last year. That was designated. Whenever you have 65% of your schools that are unsatisfactory or below average, then you're designated as a
So this
district.
designation is for last year's performance?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
this is
then-
not
so
this is not new.
I got you. So let me
Right.
alter my question. The
Okay.
year before that, were we an underperforming district?
Now, I'm not sure because I don't think that, see, the accountability system has changed over the years, so the year before that, I don't think we were because they weren't giving those type of designations then.
Understood.
Is that correct, Dr. Reed? All right, yes, that is true.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is not new that I'm expressing to you. This was our designation last year.
But the designation to our district is new. You know,
Right.
So can you explain what an underperforming district does for us? And for instance, my point of reference is priority schools.
Right.
So when that school is identified in need, then they receive some funding and special attention. That school has a accountability and some planning under a set amount of time
Right.
to get into a better place. So what does an underperforming district, what classification does that do for us?
Right, so, and Dr. Reed, you're gonna have to help me with this now, okay? So, an underperforming district, make sure I'm saying it right, we don't get any funds for underperforming district. We did. So we do get funds for underperforming district. However, the schools, we have to have a laser focus on our schools and our school plans. So there is planning, and we do have to turn those plans into the State Department. And so we have a certain amount of years to get out of that designation. If you don't get out of that designation within, it's either 2 years or 3 years, what is it, 2 years? It's either 2 or 3 years. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot like that, Dr. Reed, but it's either 2 or 3 years. And Ms. Hedden, she's been with us too to these meetings. If you're not out of that designation, either 2 or 3 years, then the state can then come in and make your decisions. So we don't want that to happen.
It is, thank you. So it's a yearly designation. The state law went into effect for the 23-24 school year, and that's when Colleton was designated. We have a year, we can get out of that designations if our schools are not 65% with the testing this year. We don't know what our designation is going to be. What they're telling us from the Office of School Transformation is if we can get out of that designation, we're fine. But we have to just focus laser on our schools and make sure that they are performing. But it's a year-to-year designation.
I know we're preparing for the report, the full report in October.
Yes.
And that will have a more distinct look at every school.
Every school. So in October, we will have our school report card ratings. So we'll know whether our schools are good, excellent, below average, unsatisfactory. In October, we will also have our end of course exam data as well. We'll have all of that. So that's why I wanted to just do that in October, because you'll have all of the information. Some of the information is still embargoed, like our EOC data is still embargoed. So it would be best to just give you everything in October.
Sounds great. Just if I may,
Yeah.
as we are looking at each individual school, understanding that new distinction that our district has, and better how we get out of that, what percentage of each school has to go up and what schools we're targeting, that sort of thing will be
Right.
important to know as we move forward.
Right. And let me just say now, we were given this designation last year based on the previous year's scores.
So this is the second year that we've received this
No.
No.
So the designation that we have was actually the designation that was given to us in the 22-23 school year based on the 21-22 scores.
Right.
Yep. You see what I'm saying? So we had this designation last year based on the previous year's scores. So in October, we'll find out if we are going to have the same designation again. Because if we have 65% of our schools not meeting standard, then we'll have the same designation. So that's why it's very, very important. My motto is, it's all about the kids. That's why it's very important that it's truly all about the kids, and that all of our stakeholders understand that the true reason for schooling is instruction and for teaching and learning. Teaching and learning is very important. And I know, there are other factors that go into it. You have to, look at how you're operating and different things like that. You need money. You have to fill positions, all of those things. But curriculum and instruction is very important. And we, as a community, we just have to realize that, we need to do more. Everyone needs to work together. Everyone, all stakeholders, parents, teachers, staff, all of us have to do our part to make sure that our kids excel.
Ms. Williams, I know I'm late at the party, but explain to me, and you may have already talked about it, but just in case, we had priority schools that, 2 years ago? And they came out of priority. What's the difference between the priority schools? And if you already did that, then I'll leave it alone.
So priority school status is based upon the scores and growth of the schools as well. Let me make sure that I'm giving you the exact criteria for priority schools. But we had some of our schools to exit priority status. We did. We had some of our schools to exit that status. The issue is we have to have more than 65% not to be considered an underperforming district.
Okay.
That's the issue.
That's the issue, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
I see these scores, and I've looked at some of the other data that's online and stuff. Whenever we were given the ESSER 3 money, Dr. Reed, $24 million for ESSER 3, is that correct? About $22 million. And we were required that 4% of that be for learning loss? 20%. Which came to like $4-something million, right? And I was not on the board. I was still an employee of this district whenever that all happened and all. And just as a concerned citizen, I was very concerned that our plan was to meet the bare minimum that we had to for learning loss. Seeing these scores and kind of the trend of our scores and stuff, I would just, from my vantage point as a board member now, everything that we do and every dollar that we spend needs to be to fix these scores in our school district. And I say that just in what we've mentioned tonight. We've mentioned $44,000 spent in travel in the month of August alone. We've said maybe between $35,000 and $40,000 for a car for travel. I personally am going to have a very hard time okaying a single cent in our district that doesn't have a direct correlation, and I mean direct correlation, to improving these schools. So we are failing our children, and our children deserve better than what they're getting. I am not, please don't mistake me, I'm not casting stones, I'm not blaming anyone. I am looking at this as this is where we are, we've got to fix it. And
Most
I'm
definitely.
not saying anything about anybody in any position or at any other time in history. From right now, everything that this district does moving forward has to be 100% about giving our kids the education that they deserve. And that doesn't just come down to money, that comes down to discipline issues. Whenever our principals say a kid is a disruption in the school and they can't be in the school anymore, we have to support that principal. Whenever we've talked about an elementary alternative school, we've got to move forward with lightning speed to get those things done. We have got to improve the learning environment for our kids so that they get the education that they deserve from our county.
Most definitely, Mr. Irwin, I agree with you fully. And we have some things in place, like you talked about the travel, you don't always make everyone happy, but, we're looking at our travel. We are, and we're making sure that our travel is necessary. And yes, there's some meetings that, different departments and different people must go to. There's State Department roundtables. There's professional learning opportunities that, our staff goes to. But we're really taking a laser focused look at, where we're spending our money to make sure that what you just said becomes a reality. So I want you to know that we are working towards that. We plan to be transparent and let you know exactly how we're doing it.
Superintendent Williams, just to follow up what Mr. Irwin was talking about with the disciplinary issues. I really hate to even have to talk about it, but based on some emails clearly this week and a lot of phone calls and parents reaching out, I'm definitely concerned with our behavior issues that we're having. I want to make sure that we don't regress, because I feel like we've moved forward in a positive direction with our behavior, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to support our administration when we have these issues. I understand. I've done some extensive homework personally on, because I realize a lot of the behavior issues are stemming from children who have IEPs, 504s, I understand that. So I've been looking into that a lot to make sure that we're not missing out on something. And I know that those children are going to be more of a challenge for us. However, I do know that there are options that we have, and whatever we can do to make sure that these children are placed in an environment where they can be successful, whether it be a more restrictive environment where they're not in the schools causing a disruption to take away from the instruction that you were just talking about of these children who are there and are not a behavior problem. I think that would help our scores go up if the children that are there strictly to learn could not be, their focus couldn't be taken in every other direction besides education. So
and I understand, I can feel your passion, and I just want to say that we have to look at each situation differently. And you mentioned students with IEPs, they have certain protections that we have to make sure that we're doing, because if we don't, we could find ourselves in lawsuits. So we have to take that into consideration. One of the things that we are trying to hone into our schools is that we have got to look at our multi-tier system of support, because our students need support. A lot of our students have experienced trauma, based on the fact that they've gone through the COVID era and they're still experiencing trauma. So sometimes, when we have students with challenging behaviors, we can't always just say, okay, we're going to put this student out. But if that is the best decision for the student based upon the supports that they're receiving and interventions that they're receiving, then that's the decision we'll make. But if we see where, well, maybe we needed to support this child a little bit more, maybe they need some mental health counseling, maybe they need some other interventions, then we put that in place too. So like I said, I feel you. It's just not a cookie cutter type process.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. And, I guess from flip side of the coin, the children who have been victimized, their parents, they reach out to us throughout school year and say, hey, my child's been the victim, and the victim appears to be overlooked because these other children are placed right back in the same environment to be able to behave the same way over and over and over. Where does the victim's rights come into account? And I just want to make sure that we're not overlooking certain children's rights for other children's rights, because I know that we have options, and it may just be that we have to take them out of one environment and place them in another environment where we can better support their needs and their behavior outbursts, whatever it may be. And just something that we need to focus on.
Completely understand. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Like in the change of classes, are teachers supposed to be outside their rooms standing by their door?
So I do know that is an expectation. That is an expectation that teachers are actively supervising during class changes at their doors, making sure that students are going where they're supposed to be going. Yes, sir.
How about the stairways? Is they governed by an adult?
So each school is responsible for devising a plan of supervision for their school, and I'm sure the stairwells are one of those places as well. Now, if you want me to actually get with the high school, the middle school, and actually get their plan, okay, where do you have your person stationed? I can certainly do that.
I think that's something that we need to look into, because an incident happened and this person took their child out of our district because of that kind of stuff. So I think that we need to take another approach to that and make sure we cover that.
Most definitely.
Well, and I will say, Mr. Murdoch, and just kind of in relation to that, during the COVID year that we had, stairwells were eliminated where they were not able to be used. You could only use certain stairwells. And I know particularly in the high school, that building being so large and there being so many stairwells, that may need to be an approach that we take, that we eliminate some of those stairwells. That way we don't have to quite have as many people monitoring them, and we can kind of contain that traffic a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I do think we need to have our teachers standing by their door to help direct traffic, to keep down on some of the confusion that's happened in the whole doing change of classes.
Yes, sir. For the most part, I do know that the high school and middle school, just using those two schools, because, they change classes more so than at the elementary schools. But I do know that is an expectation of the principals that are at those two buildings, that, teachers are standing at their doors. But I will definitely check to see what the duty stations are, and check on the stairwells as well.
Ms. Williams, as the board is reflecting and giving feedback, it does appear that there is some need for some supervision reports later, but if it's okay with the board, we'll move on since we have exceeded the superintendent's operation update items that you have provided. Maybe we come back to that at a later time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Murdoch, Human Resources?
At this time, I'll ask Ms. Hamilton to come forth.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You have my report. I just have some corrections for you, or some revisions, some updates. From 48 to 42,
good review.
There you go, thank you.
And then just proposing that that you guys consider the extra compensation pay for those staff members who are helping us with coverage. And that right now is 3 people that would impact.
And
2 teachers, 1 assistant.
so, Ms. Hamilton, can you just clarify that for me? Are we talking about people who are taking on extra classes, or?
So our examples would be they're doubling up. So they have two sets of kids that they're responsible for providing instruction to. And then one is literally a dual modality. So he's teaching his in-person kids and virtual.
Okay. And you said that was 3 total, 2 teachers and 1 aide?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And of course, just reminding you of the staffing solutions that we have considered and implemented so far this year. Just want to update you, and this is an induction week, our new teacher academy week. And so we start with year 2 teachers on Tuesdays, and then we do year 1 teachers on Wednesday. So they're tomorrow, and today we did have year 2. Also, an update, our revision to the September 20th. So that's on the upcoming dates. So myself and the 2 HR specialists will be attending our human capital kickoff for the 23-24 school year. So we participated in that last year with 4 other districts just to talk about human capital and the best ways to recruit and retain staff. And then I will be in a personnel leadership conference during those dates outlined. And that's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
Ms. Hamilton, just one for clarification under the staffing solutions. I think I mentioned this last month as well, and I think Mr. Durden answered this, but I just want to make sure I'm correct. The employed contract services for the SPED classes, that is not SPED teachers, so we don't have the virtual teachers. That is more like the speech and those kind of things, correct?
Is all service models. Right. All service models.
So we have brought in teachers instead of having virtual?
No, they're teaching in the virtual platform, but it's for all learning models.
Okay, so my point is we have not brought in more bodies to be, okay.
No.
Okay, but not in person.
So
I got you.
So of the 48, we did hire 1. So and I know that they're working diligently to
And that
interview.
was special ed?
That's special ed.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
Ms. Hamilton, I wonder, are we able to get any retired people to help fill any of the openings at any point during the day at any school?
No, ma'am. We haven't gotten any.
We'll keep working.
Any more questions?
One more quick one. Somebody mentioned something the other day about a new program, and I think they were talking about our like teacher cadet program. Have we kicked that off? Are we doing that?
So we have not kicked off teacher cadet. It would need to really trickle from curriculum and instruction to HR.
Okay.
So we don't devise, because it's more curriculum based.
So we're not doing that right now.
Not right now.
Okay.
There is a plan though. We do
Okay.
have a plan for that in the middle
Do we
school.
have some kind of program where we have high school students shadowing teachers or something?
Not currently that I'm aware of, unless C&I knows of something.
You know, we do have the early childhood class at TCTC, and they do go over like to Black Street sometimes.
Okay,
to
so
do,
maybe that's what
yeah,
it is. Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch. Finance, Ms. Strobel?
Yes, Ms. Barrett, we look forward to hearing from you tonight.
Good evening to the board.
Good evening.
Everyone. Okay. Just want to let you know that finance is dead in the middle of an audit. We're still working in 2 years. The auditors are coming next week and taking over our books and everything, so we're still working on that. They'll probably be here until we make our financial report to the state up until December, but they won't be on site all that time, but we'll be working with them all that time. Okay. Just for go over a monthly update on the finances. As you see on our local fund, we had an increase of $95,572.70 for our local revenue. And our state funding, we had a decrease of $1,302.85. And I have a memo from the state saying also that the district allocation would adjust outside of a normal 45-day and 135-day updates after the charter schools submit their 55-day accounts. So what we're getting now might be a little less when after the 45-day accounts because of charter schools coming in and adding more schools and more students.
The charter school, we don't have a charter school in Carlton, do we?
No, sir, but when they're talking about the charter school, they're talking about district-wide
And so
charter
we-
school. So we got one little pot of funding, and if we get more charter school come in, then we lose funding.
Why we losing? They in our county.
They still operate by the state. So when they add more students, that means we may lose a little bit of funding. So that's how that works. And I remember last year I told you from January, we had lost like $614,000 once they did some more reallocation. So that's based on that. For our special revenue, we had a little funding this year on August of $67,696.72, which was an increase. Food service, normally because we don't get a lot of our state funding now this time of the year, we did get a little bit last year, but this year we had a decrease of the $5,995.84, which we had a total increase in our monthly revenue of $157,055.67. Our general fund on our expenditures for June, I'm sorry, I had July, but it should be August of 2023, we had an increase in $1.7 million. And this increase is due to when you change the workday calendar, you change how we pay our people. Because now we brought them back early, so we had to pay them early based on those 2 weeks that we brought them back early. And normally this would have been a problem if we didn't have a good fund balance, because our fund balance used to be where we were right at trying to make our payments because we don't get any of our taxes until, December, October, start getting in taxes. But whenever we change the work calendar, it affects how we pay our employees. So it does make a difference.
And then presumably, Ms. Barrett, if we were to look then at June next year, we might be a little bit better because we will have almost completed school at that point.
That's correct.
In theory. So, I mean, just, I think that is a helpful explanation because there is a significant difference in the expenses from last year. So
Yes.
that caught my eye very much.
Yeah.
So thank you for that explanation, but I do think we need to be mindful of, as we're creating the calendar next year and better
Right.
budgeting.
If we revert back to the regular calendar, that means that our employees will have a decrease in their funds. So it affects a lot
Yeah.
of how we pay them when we do the calendar.
Again, thank you for the explanation.
And our special revenue, our expenses increased by $144,354.18. Federal fund, we had a decrease of $64,886.86. And food service had an increase in the expenses of $92,283.78. And we had a total increase in our expenditures for the month of August by $1.9 million. Any questions? Anything else?
That increase, Ms. Barrett, in the monthly expenditure for this year, is that within our budget? I mean, we had planned for that?
Yes, sir. That's still within our budget. Yes.
Okay. All right. Ms. Barrett, the famous or infamous insurance reimbursement fund that we had, can you tell me how much money is left in that?
I'm thinking it's like almost $400,000 or $500,000 in there, but we had to pay for for the equipment for Mr. McNeely out of that fund until, we pay for that equipment for him out of that fund.
I thought that money was coming out of ESSER.
Well, we did not get approved for ESSER yet.
Yes,
for
the
that fund.
the amendment has been submitted, which Dr. Reed has in her report, but we had to use district funds to pay for it on the front end, and then when the ESSER funds are approved, then we'll put that money back into the general fund.
Okay, and I have one more. I know when we were doing the budget for this year and the planning, I was screaming every week or every month whenever we met to decrease the budget, decrease the budget. One of the largest line items that was taken out of the budget during that time was a $400,000 line item for technology, and we were told that it was pulled and it would be used from a different funding source. Is that still accurate information?
Well, we do, we had that money that came in May. Remember, we had a bond, and we had some 8% money bond money that came in. And we do have some money left over from that we can pay for those.
So yes, that 400,000 is going to be funded?
Yes, close to, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms.
Any
Barrett,
other question?
yes,
Yes, ma'am.
just a question, because we received a different document, budget report by fund. I know it's not part of anything that needs to be voted, I don't think, but am y'all seeing that? I don't, it's just a different report that I haven't received before. It has a bunch of travel on it.
I think that's a report that you have requested about the travel reimbursement for the district. That's what was in there. How much was travel the district had for the month of,
Okay.
yeah.
For the month of August.
Right.
And then we have before us the professional development calendar, Ms. Williams, as well, that identifies all staff travel from July through August.
Yes, you have both. You have the travel, the professional development calendar, and you have the amount of money that was spent on professional development.
Thank you.
Okay, and with the travel, we're gonna do our best, Mrs. Stivner, to pull that report. It is because we don't track everything by mileage. We track everybody turn in their report by each person. So we would have to go and pull everybody's travel and do an Excel spreadsheet and try to pull that out of that. So it may be a time consuming to do that.
Sure, and I hate for that to be that way, but I'm a numbers person, and when you're asking me to purchase a vehicle to save money, I'd like to see. The only way we would save money would be cheaper for us to not pay them mileage versus using our vehicle. So if we don't have that number, there's no way for me to justify, we're saving money or we're not saving money.
Right.
That's really the only number that matters to me.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yeah, we will pull it. It's going to just take us a little while. Okay, thank you.
And just to be clear, I think what Ms. Wicken is referring to, we have the trial report, thank you, but we don't have hard copies of what was emailed to us, so we wouldn't be able to refer to those for next week, so make sure that's included when we vote to approve. We don't have any other of the finance items that were in our packet by email in our packet tonight.
So you're asking for those to be emailed to you?
No, we have them by email, but
You need
usually
hard
when we
copies.
vote, we have them where we can look at them and ask questions.
Okay.
But we didn't get any printouts of her report, for what we would be approving next week.
We vote on travel for the district?
No, so normally you vote on the, your budget board report, and you normally vote on the, reports for the, capital projects and the general fund report. Normally, Ms. Sherrill does bring a copy of all of that and put it in your report so you can have a hard copy of it.
Right,
We'll do that
so
next
just
week.
make sure we get those, because I did have some questions that I sent to Superintendent Williams. She can,
Okay, we will.
work on.
We'll get those for you. Just, if you would, just send me an email. Okay? Just to make sure that I know exactly what it is you want. Okay? All right.
Yes, so we'd be able to approve those items next week.
Sure.
And just in looking at the travel, because we just received this, please make sure to go back to anything that's showing already in August in a negative. because I do have concerns why a budget would already have negatives, and I'm sure sometimes, that's able to be justified, but anything that already is showing negatives,
I think normally what's looking at it, what's in the negative are those funds that don't have a budget, and those are normally the special revenue fund and our federal funds, and those funds are set up by the department, and the department have to send that information over to my department so my people can set those budget up for them.
okay?
Yeah.
Well,
So that's what-
there's several of them, and they
Yeah.
are general budget items, 100s. So, yeah, just clarify that. I want to know that. I don't know about anybody else, but it's August report here. So I'd like to see the budget reflecting a positive.
And normally too, we, because we have to have the report to you by the 5th of the month, it's really hard for our people to reconcile their books because they do not, once the month is closed, we give them a list of everything they got to have to us by a certain time of the month. And normally, they don't have time to reconcile by the time I have to turn in the report, because it's hard for them to do it. Like this week, for this report, I had to turn it in to Ms. Riddell by last Tuesday. And because of that, my people haven't had a chance to reconcile anything yet. So that's why you might see a little lag in time on the reports. But rest assured, we do reconcile everything every month. It just may take a little while.
Ms. Barrett, would that explain why, just looking at this travel report, the very last item on the first page is District 2 Board Travel, and I just came back from this conference. Is that why it's still showing 0? It's just because it hasn't had time to?
Well, normally, each bookkeeper is responsible for everyone's in their department travel. And if they don't turn it into us, we can't pull that stuff in. If they don't give us the information, we cannot pay the invoices. We cannot pull in information for the P card. All of that depends on when we get that information from each of the schools.
So do we as a board have a bookkeeper?
Yes, you do. Your
Okay.
bookkeeper is Ms. Riddell,
Okay.
Cheryl.
Okay.
Yes. And of course, we're having our annual bookkeepers meeting on September 20th. And we're going to be, making sure that our guidelines are followed, because we have a sheet that we give to all the bookkeepers when things got to be done, when things got to be turned in by certain dates, and this is what we give them, and we go over it every year with them. So, and it's hard, I guess, sometimes for them to adhere to those deadlines, but we also tell them that we can't do our job unless they do their jobs, because we got to make sure that everything is put in, because we don't know what invoices come in until we get them. So, and we can't pay them unless we get them.
Thank you. We appreciate each one of them, and all of you as well. So I'll make sure we get clarification on what we need and meet with Superintendent Williams if that's needed.
Just want a point of reference on policies, because I know we'll talk about that next week. But that some of these policies that were reviewed earlier this week will help in the coordination of our travel. And I hope that will help your department too, just with prior approvals that the district is looking to do, so that we know what the expenses are going to be ahead of time, and we can keep better collection of that. Sorry, Mr. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. We're happy that you can bring us an ESSER update and also information that we brought in from new business. If you want to let us know about the public input, we appreciate you coordinating that.
All right, absolutely. Good afternoon, good evening, board members. Just wanted to bring some information for your updates as it relates to ESSER 3. There was a PowerPoint that was provided to you as well, and it's just a few slides just to give you some updates on our spending for ESSER 2 as well as ESSER 3, and then a slide that goes into our public input session. So, as you can see on your third slide, we have a little bitty amount of money left in ESSER 2 to the tune of $17,076.81 as of September the 1st. My goal is by the time I see you again next month, that will be zero. And it'll easily be done because we have payroll that will come out of that. And so ESSER 2 will be gone. And we will have spent that money on time and within budget for the district. The next slide gives you the balance of our ESSER 3 dollars, where we have in the various categories that we still are spending in, such as the mental health positions, other salaried positions, our district priorities, and indirect costs, and our money for our learning loss, okay? Now, for each of these slides, there was or is a CSI report that's attached to that. Unfortunately, those reports did not come over with these on September the 1st, but Mrs. Williams did forward them this evening, or earlier this afternoon, so you'll get a chance to look at those more in detail. But I'll go into a little bit of that information in a second. We did submit an Amendment 9. This is what Mrs. Williams was referring to earlier, where we asked for some of the things that we talked about in our last board meeting. Remember, we were trying to get additional money to cover the teachers that we use in the virtual space, the proctors who work in the virtual space, our collaboration with Children's Museum, our accelerated reading program, some things we were putting forth with Amendment 9. And Amendment 10 was going to include those safety and security equipment that you all were referring to. But between Amendment 9 and Amendment 10, the department has required that we have our public input session, and that's what's on your next slide. Every 6 months for our ESSER, we're required to have public input. We were able to do this the last time, March 1st of this year, and while we got through August, now's the time for us to do that. It's not going to be a terribly onerous process. All we're saying at this meeting, as well as next meeting, we're inviting all of our public individuals to go to our website and review the ESSER 3 plan. It's always there. All you have to do is type in ESSER 3. You can review the plan, and then you can give us your input. And we have an email address that's on the slide, which is esser3@colleton.k12.sc.us. We'll be soliciting public comments and opinions through September 22nd. And then once we get that information, we will put it together, update our ESSER spending plan, and then when we get ready to submit our Amendment 10, then we can show to our State Department officials that we've gone through that process and we're submitting our amendment accordingly. Okay? Any questions? Let me give 1 or 2 comments about the CSI reports that you'll take a look at. If you haven't had a chance to look at them, you'll notice that there are some that are amounts that are highlighted. Well, those are the amounts that we basically had approved in our amendment. Once the amendment is approved, then we adjust the budget, and then we have the money like for our after-school program, which is about $700,000 that we'll have through the end of this year, May 24th to be exact. We put money in there for full mind tutors and teachers. You'll see that $1.7 million. All those things that we said and we put in our plan that was approved, that's suggested in those CSI reports. Okay? What questions do you have?
Dr. Reed, thank you very much for the explanation. I have a quick question. The things that you were just talking about, the Amendment 9 things that are approved, did the board approve those, or does the board have to approve those or need to approve those? How does that work?
No, sir. We pretty much just shared that information in terms of what we were going to put in our next amendment.
I got you.
Yes.
So just for clarification, the board has no say in how we're going to spend the remaining ESSER money?
I won't say that. You can provide input, and then, it's a collaborative effort.
But it never comes to the board for a vote before we spend it?
That part is true, yes,
Okay.
sir. That's true. That's
Okay.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
We put these amendments in, and they're approved by the State Department.
I got you.
They will tell us whether or not, for example, we can use any of these funds
Sure.
for the X-ray equipment.
Sure.
Just know that there's always going to be an approval process. So we would like to use our funds, but we got to ask for permission, y'all. And once they tell us we can, that's when we.
Sure. And my whole question, Dr. Reed, is not anything, the board needs to stamp anything or anything. Again, just looking at the Amendment 9, the things that are listed in there, and going back to my previous comment with our testing scores, maybe some of these things are really good, but maybe they're not what's needed now to increase our test scores from the point where they are. So that was just my goal. I want to make sure that, okay, it got approved, so let's go out and spend the money. Let's pause on actually spending it until we make sure, Ms. Williams said in October, we will hear a detailed plan of how we're going to fix these things. So that's my only point of those things.
Totally understood. We talk about these things before we, decide that we're going to, like the partnership with the Children's Museum. We're using that partnership to hopefully increase our science, our test scores, because that's that partnership in what grade levels, Mrs. Williams?
For science?
Yes.
4th grade and 6th grade.
But the partnership for the Children's Museum?
Partnership, yeah. We have a partnership with Low Country Children's Museum, and they come in and they do activities, hands-on STEM activities with our children.
For what grades?
So, I think it's 4th grade. 4th grade, because that's the tested grade.
What was also in that plan, for example, was accelerated reader. We get accelerated reader for our locations to give that extra oomph, that extra time for our students in reading assignments. So those are the kinds of expenditures we hope you see and agree that we're with you. We're trying to move that needle as well.
And then, I just want to say, we do try to focus our funds on those expenditures that we can see student achievement and those outcomes getting greater, but then there's some things like the fire alarm system. I mean, those are things that we must have for the proper operation of our building. And then also on that is the after-school programs and the summer programs, which all encompasses our children and learning. We have to have our teachers. Unfortunately, we have to have more virtual teachers than we really want, but that's what we have to do because of the lack of teachers. So, I would say all of this is really tied to student achievement.
Sure.
If you look at that whole list.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking like the summer programs, and I don't know what all this entails in this Amendment 9, but we just got at our last month's board meeting, we got data that showed that over the summer programs, we decreased in some of our learning in our ready scores and stuff. So again, I just want to make sure from this point, September the 12th, 2023 forward, that every penny we spend is going to be, as Dr. Reed and Superintendent Williams have said, laser focused, right? We don't need any waste. We don't need any fluff. We need to make sure that every penny is going to be maximized towards getting our kids this education they deserve.
Dr. Reed, I wonder if there are roundtables that maybe you attend with the federal funding. I know you used to be a part of the State Department, and I would see you at meetings, but are there events where maybe they share how ESSER funds are, helping with the learning loss, and are you able to benefit from that?
When it comes to the federal roundtables, I mean, ours is pretty, utilitarian. We're just trying to talk about how we will spend the money to support teaching and learning. It's the instructional leaders roundtables where we talk about the best practices that underscore how well we do those things. There should be better conversations in terms of how we kind of intertwine those things together. And we have those conversations here at the district. And then we get information from ESSER funds and how ESSER funds are expended. And then along with that, we give reports. We also have to link in how we've spent the funds, how they've aligned with those kinds of buckets and the things that the ESSER funds are for. It's ongoing. And we do attend those roundtables, and there are a lot of them for various and sundry groups. So, yes.
Thank you. I just encourage, I know all of you go to those, so, we're not just shooting in the dark, but we're hearing where we're getting results across our state or other places.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strobel. At this time, we'll hear from Curriculum and Instruction, Mr. Irwin.
Ms. Hedden?
Good evening, board members. I'm going to just share some information about our adventures in curriculum instruction for the last month. Some of the things that we've been working on is we planned our district convocation meeting. We supported our school's arrival and dismissal efforts for the first week of school. We've been busy visiting the schools, making sure that we're in their PLC sessions, conducting classroom observations, giving feedback, updating the district's pacing guides, providing the after-school curriculum for our after-school tutoring program. And then much of what we do is we focus on the professional development for our teachers. And some of the topics that we have worked with this past month has been open court reading, of course, biology, our pre-K curriculum. We adopted a new curriculum for this school year. Math has been a very big focus. iReady, and that includes the Principals Academy. New science standards, we've done PD on that. Our Inspire Science curriculum. Securely, our iReady math pilot program in grades 5. Our Google applications and monitor training for those monitors in the virtual classrooms. Also, from Ms. McDonald's office for assessment and accountability, some of her activities has been to monitor the completion of our KRA and my IGDs assessments for our 4K and 5K students. Coordinating the screening of all of our newly enrolled students where language other than English is spoken in the home. Coordinating the fall diagnostic testing in iReady for our reading and math. And identifying students in grade 12 to participate in the career readiness assessment WIN. And then Ms. Varn, who is our Power School coordinator, has been working very diligently to make sure all of our data in Power School is updated and correct. She works with our Power School clerks and has monthly meetings with them and just does a lot to troubleshoot any issues that are going on. She's helped to create our staff and parent Power School accounts so parents can, we encourage them to use the parent portal. And then also provided instructions for virtual instruction and grading and updated the necessary fields and transcripts. She's also compiled attendance data for the Office of Student Services. So those are some of the things that we worked on for the past month. I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Hedden and the Office of Curriculum and Instruction? Ms. Hedden, I have one just from when you were talking about Ms. Varn and Power School, creating the parent Power School accounts. One of the issues that I had whenever my kid was at the high school primarily, logging into the Power School parent portal, there were never grades put in a timely manner. Is that something that we're still having an issue with, or is that something that's been addressed and corrected? At any level, can our parents see how their kids are doing in their classes?
We do have guidelines for the teachers where they are given guidelines on how often they're to enter them, how many grades should be in there for the interims, for report cards, and then of course the teachers will have to enter that information. A lot of the digital dashboards that we're using now, once the student takes that assessment, let's say on the computer, it automatically puts it into Power School. So that's very helpful.
That would be.
But a lot of the daily grades, informative grades, things like that, they will have to put them in. And so it could fluctuate from location to location, teacher by teacher. We encourage the administrators to constantly go into the grade books, to check the grade books. I know before report cards go out, I go into their grade books and I check it to make sure that they have the correct number of grades. There's nothing that they are going by the guidelines. So really, that's on the administrators to make sure that they're closely monitoring that. I would encourage anyone that maybe, if that's become an issue, to contact the administrator and said, hey, I'm not seeing the grades in my child's assignments. It could be a glitch. It could be that the grades hadn't been put in. So start at the school level and say, what's going on, and then, of course, we'll give support to that individual to see what's going on, why the grades are not appearing.
Thank you, Ms. Hedden. And now, I think at one time, the Power School part was primarily for like the high school students, and the elementary use something different, or is it the Power School portal for all grades?
All grades.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you won't, of course, if you have a 4K or 5K student, you're not going to see so much grades.
But just
For
regular
grades
elementary schools,
one,
that should be Power School? Okay,
One up should see them.
thank you.
I want to point out too that, in coordination, you talk about the parent portal, it's on our website. There's a specific section that says for parents. Parents, there's never a reason why you should be seeing grades at interims and 9 weeks only. You can check every day if you need to, and you should be. You should be aware of that, and as you mentioned, if there is a glitch, because it's very possible that can happen, and you have to stay on top of it. We give you the opportunity. It's super easy, and if you don't have your login information, you can get it from your child's guidance department.
Attendance and tardies too, correct, on the Power School portal for your child?
Now that I'm not certain about. Yeah,
People
they're
saying
saying
yes.
yes.
Miss Hamilton's checking her kid right now. Go easy on him, Miss Hamilton, go easy on him.
I know that Ms. Fox and Mr. Jones has worked to put together something for Parent University, and so that's a lot of information for the parents as well. I would encourage anyone to go and check it out.
Sure. Yeah, I know there's a lot sometimes on social media, and all parents will say, I didn't know my kid was doing this bad and stuff. And like Ms. Whitkin echoed, there's no reason that you can't know how your kid's doing because those resources are out there. So.
Well, I think sometimes we just need to remind the parents
Sure.
that they're out there, they get busy, they get consumed with life, and we just need to give them gentle reminders, and this is a great opportunity to do that.
Maybe there's a way we can blast that on the website, Superintendent Williams, just kind of as a reminder, hey, here's the link for those kind of things.
Yes, we definitely can. And we're also going to have a presentation on Parent University for you at our next meeting so that you can see how it works and just get the word out to our parents that there is support for them. If they don't understand how to set up these things, we have support for them.
So all of our parents watching right now, next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. at the board meeting, there will be a Parent University presentation that'll help you with all sorts of fun stuff.
Most definitely.
Good.
And in case you didn't know, parents' interims went out last week.
Now, you just got some kids in trouble right there. Any other board member have any questions for Ms. Hedden? Ms. Hedden, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. At this time, we'll hear from operations. Mr. Stivender.
Mic on my mic on Miss Ellen Fitch.
Good evening. I just want to update a couple of things. Student Nutrition is working with the elementary school administration right now to help them spend their first allocation for the fresh fruit and vegetable at the elementary schools. We'll help them by September 30th. We have to spend their first allocation, which each one was given a little over $1,500 to spend on some supplies and needed things to help them to serve the fresh fruit and vegetable snacks that they'll get outside of the breakfast and lunch throughout the remainder of the year. And then the next allocation will come for October through the end of the year, and we'll just monitor that monthly to help them spend that and serve the extra fresh fruit and vegetables to those students. Transportation, they still have a shortage, but however, they did hire a new driver, and they have 2 driver trainees in behind the wheel training that will be certified once they complete that and are tested. So that will help with some of that. And I will call Mr. Hamilton up to update you on the information from Buildings and Grounds.
I wonder, while Mr. Hamilton is on his way up, Superintendent Williams, I wonder if it might be possible, not necessarily at our next meeting, but just at some point in the future, if maybe we can't have, and I know Mr. Bradley travels and has all kind of things going on, but if we might just be able to get him just to hear directly from him how things are going in transportation and stuff.
Okay.
Not to be a burden or anything, but if it's feasible.
Okay.
Because I know he doesn't live within our county or whatever, but
Right. Okay.
thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. Just want to report on some ongoing things. The wastewater and wastewater treatment, we received quotes on the 1st of September, and getting ready to award that contract. Just had to do some due diligence and checking references on that, so we'll be doing that this week in accordance with the procurement code.
Mr. Hamilton, can you speak in the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Also, we have had some interviews. We identified some candidates for the maintenance assistant position, the maintenance specialist position, and the carpenter's position. We had no application for the plumber's position, so I've been working with Ms. Fitch to sort of realign that based on some things that we were going on and some contracting that we can do to help us on the plumbing arena when needed. We also reviewing application for custodian. We plan to start scheduling interviews next week for those. So hopefully we can get those folks on board. We still doing the restructuring our work order system, doing really well. We really had a great input from the guys and a great commitment to getting the work done, and it shows in the number of work order we have been able to increase just within the last month. The normal things, grass executing, we're still evaluating the fire alarm system. We're finding some problems and being able to work those out as well. On the capital project side, we are meeting with the Guardian, which is the management firm, and also with Johnson Luck, which is the job order contractor firm. We met several times already, and we met with the architect and engineer this week as well. And we're starting to get some estimates, and we're just trying to refine those as quickly as possible. So we talked with them this morning, and they're trying to get those costs as quickly as possible, where we can start consolidating the work and look at the progress and look at some engineering options. The same thing with the robotics. All the plans are in, and Harper Corporation, I'm meeting with them Friday morning again, and they're going to start putting their estimate together. And I also am expecting the estimate from the architectural firm because that was part of the contract as well. We're starting to work. I've identified some civil engineering services on the bus or the parking lot, not only on the bus side, but on the student parking side of it, and getting them to work with LS3P to start developing a scope for it as well. We are still working on some other smaller projects, some canopies at the different schools, Bells and Hendersonville, and also looking at the scope, trying to develop a scope for this building, the roof on this building as well, and as well as the 7th, 8th grade mechanical project.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton, for giving us some updates. And I was just curious, where will we be, and do we have the funds set up, like for the high school? I know was supposed to get a recoated roof. Is that something that we're going to hear reports about?
Well, the high school, I have talked to the contractor that originally done that, and there were some issues with the roof from the beginning, and he called me up out of the blue and wanted to come and take a look at it, and he wanted to honor his work. So we were looking at that and meeting with him to see what he's going to be able to do for us as far as some remedial things in the interim.
So we're still under warranty with his work?
Well, it's a little gray because I'm still going through that paperwork, but mostly those warranties are 20-year warranties roofing warranties are basically
20 years, you said?
Yes, 20,
Okay.
20 years. So he's not proposing replacing the roof, but he's proposing doing some mediation to the roof.
Okay, I look forward to hearing from that. And I'm glad, we're moving forward on some of these other projects since you've come on board. And I wondered, when you mentioned those, the new way that we're doing the job work orders, if we go that way, are any local vendors or contractors in that job order contracting list?
Johnson is from, both Johnson and Hopper has offices in Charleston and in the Somerville area. Some of these firms are national firms and have offices all over, but they do have a presence here in the Low Country.
So just, Ms. Lynn, I think, hit on a question that I had as well. I obviously, a lot of our local contractors are concerned about this job order contracting that we're going to potentially look into. I'm not a fan whatsoever of cutting out our local money. And when I say local, I mean Colleton County local. I don't mean Charleston local, Columbia local, South Carolina local. I mean our people right here at home. And when we don't give our local people the opportunity to bid on these jobs, we're taking food off our own table. So when contractors reach out to me and say, hey, we're not able to get on this list, then that tells me that maybe that's not a service we need to go through. Also, it appears that we're paying this potentially Gordian company to subcontract out these other companies for us. They have to be making money somewhere. And it feels like we could save money if we did our own search through our procurement process, which is a policy that we have to continue to go by until we change that policy. So if it goes against our procurement process, I don't really understand how we could use it.
I will answer that. He wasn't here when we did the initial with the job order contract, but our local contractors were sent everything to supply all of the information to this, because we included all of them in the invitation to be a part of this.
Correct. And it's my understanding that several of our local contractors have actually reached out and attempted to apply for this, and they were rejected for no reason whatsoever. And I'm not talking about, podunk companies that don't have licensed, insured, bonded, run $1 million operations.
Right. Some of the ones that did the work for us were included, and they did supply some information. And if they were rejected, it's because they did not meet the requirement. But they were all asked, and they did not supply anything in the final round. And these are the ones that we've used, that we tried to get in on this project.
Can we still use them?
We can use anyone we choose. We're not required to go this route.
Okay.
So if we get pricing that we feel we need to still put out a bid, we still have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that helps a little bit with the concerns that I'm receiving, and I don't know about Mr. Savinder's, but it just, from the local perspective, that they have submitted the paperwork and have been approved, that's great. But we are still seeking local contractors and services whenever we can.
Right.
I want to make sure.
The only ones that weren't included is because they would not meet that price requirement, and they wanted more. They wanted the pricing that they submitted did not meet the level of those items. So now, because they evaluate everything that was submitted. But I do know that every company that we've ever worked with was included in on the invitation.
But we don't have to use Guardian to get to contract.
No, Gordian is just a manager, and
exactly.
he's being paid through that pilot program, not by us.
And that process was set up just to expedite things. It doesn't have to be used, because if we could go out through the bid process and do it. But to speak to what I've been doing with these companies, that I'm stressing that they use local help, subcontractors like Beach and the plumbing contractors and the suppliers around here, City and Plumbing Friends. And so I'm putting that as part of the requirement that they put something back into the community, not everything.
Yes, sir, and I understand that, but I guess my point being, we're spending extra money and still using our local people, so we're paying an outside source to subcontract our own people, which we could be using on our own and saving that 10-20% on the top that we're paying an outside company to subcontract.
Yeah, but in that same, if we put it out on the street and bid it, everybody in the United States can bid on it.
Correct.
So it may not come locally because that's what hard bid is. Well, that's what putting that on a hard bid is.
But we have a policy that requires that we go through a bidding process if it exceeds this amount of money.
Yeah.
So I don't see how we could not go through that if it exceeds that amount of money.
Because they've already procured it in this pilot program for 5 school districts and 2 universities. We're one of the 5. We are one of 5 that all of the contractors that are listed in this were invited to submit their pricing. And they have been vetted by the State Department, and they've already been procured. We are avoiding the procurement that we don't have to then put out another bid that could take up to 3 months. So we're not planning, this project that we're wanting to use these for are things that have been on the books for a year and a half that have been pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. And we're trying to get them accomplished in a short period of time once we get the pricing, and that pricing has already been procured for us. We're not saying that we won't use local vendors. We would prefer to use local vendors. The process takes anywhere from 21 days to a month when we put it out there. Then we have to take another so many days once we award it, and then so many more days for protest. So to get these jobs accomplished using the funding that has been set aside so far before they expire, we're trying to accomplish all of these projects at one time by using 2 general contractors that have already been vetted.
I understand that, but that's not our procurement process. The state has procured these contractors and said these contractors can work through this Gordian group, but it's still not in compliance with the Colleton County procurement process.
Our procurement process allows us to use state contract programs, and they allow us to do that in every area. That's part of our procurement process.
Okay, so if we have a $1 million project that comes up, this company, Gordian, will be able to say, all right, we'll put in a bid for this price, and then our local contractor will be able to put in a bid for this price, and whichever one is the best, we'll go with.
Yeah, no, the Guardian can't do work over $500,000. Those job order contract is only up to $500,000. If you had $1 million project, we had to bid it out. We have no option.
Okay, $499, I guess. It would be a better number.
Well, $499, you would have to bid it out because it would take one glitch and you over 500, you started again from the beginning. If I had a project of an estimate of $350,000, yes, I would take that option. But if I got an estimate of $450,000, you may as well go out and bid it.
Okay.
Because they usually go over.
I want to make sure that we are looking out for our citizens first. Out of town, out of state, wherever, people didn't put me on this board. Colleton County residents put me on this board. And if we can use their money or help their businesses, that's who I want to support first. Plain and simple. I don't know any other way to put it.
I agree with that, and I also, but some of the companies that we're using or that are part of this are some of the same companies we've used previously that bid the same with some of our local people in the past, and they're meeting that pricing. I don't know why those companies that we've invited to be a part, I don't know why they didn't fulfill all of the responsibilities to that. Maybe it was that the pricing threshold was lower than what they wanted to give us pricing for. But I can tell you that we have an opportunity, if we get a quote back from one of these companies that we feel, based on the formula that we use to calculate estimated cost, if we feel that it's anything over what we would normally spend, we would stop that right then and put it out for bid, because we still want to be fiscally responsible with the money, and we want to offer local people. So we would still do all of that.
Thank you for that confirmation.
Thank you.
Mr. Hamilton, I heard you say, but I'm not sure, did you say you have interviewed or you've scheduled interviews for maintenance assistant, maintenance specialist, carpenter?
No, we have interviewed. We
And-
interviewed on the 6th.
And are we making any recommendations for
Yes.
hire for those?
Yes, we are checking references now, and hopefully I have the last one today, and I'll be making a recommendation.
So you feel confident that we're filling all of those with the exception of the plumber, or just some of those?
Well, yeah, with exception of the tradespeople, with the exception of the plumber, but the custodians, we have not interviewed for those yet. We're going to start those next.
But the maintenance assistants and maintenance specialists, you feel like you've
Yeah,
got a good recommendation?
I want to make an offer.
Thank you.
I want to make them an offer.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Hamilton, a couple other questions I had. The contract that we just accepted bids on for our wastewater requirements, I read through that, and it didn't appear that we had in there anywhere for repairs. I guess that's my concern. I know they put in their bids based on the required dates for testing and all like that. Where do we stand on, for instance, if our water sewer line between here and Hendersonville has a break in it, or if we have a pump at one of our lift stations that goes out, where do we stand? Who's going to fix that for us? And where does that pricing come from?
Yeah. Well, this pricing was based on DHEC's requirement, and that's what we based this on. Anything above that, yes, we would have to use the procurement code to procure contractors to do repairs.
So it wouldn't be the same person?
No, it would not.
Okay.
It can be if he bids it and his price comes in, but it don't have to be.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we had thought, about our repairs mainly, because I know we have a lot of stuff that's going to have to be repaired in the future. One other, I know this is more of a question for our lawyers, but maybe through y'all. Where do we stand with this situation with the pump station in Ruffin? I know that we have some pretty stringent requirements that we're supposed to be abiding by, but I know we need to get rid of this as soon as we can.
Yes.
Is that something that we're talking to our attorneys still about?
The attorneys are handling, there is an attorney handling because the sale went through and then it came back on the district, if you remember. So now the only thing that we're responsible for doing is I have to submit a DMR report every single month. I have to contact Mr. Hamilton. He has to go out and verify that there is no flow. I have to then submit that report to DHEC every month saying no flow, or if there is, then what are we doing, what are we doing about that? So that's every month. And I submit that by the 28th of every month. And that's where we're at with that. Now, the situation with the sale of Ruffin, that was handled, Bert Duffy handed that over to another
Correct.
attorney.
And I do think we need to add that to an executive session topic
Right.
for further explanation, if you
Right,
may.
and that's all I know about that situation,
But
is how it was handled.
Follow up on that with, at a later time, please, from the attorneys.
Thank you.
And just to follow up from last month, Mr. Hampton, you were going to bring us up to speed on the middle school, because we talked about needing like a new mechanical, assessment for the new AC and electrical, because, we're
Yeah.
going with the whole building, not renovating.
Yeah, well, I did. That's what I was saying. I'm working with Delahaye Weeks, which was the engineering firm that did that initial report. I met with him Tuesday, I think, and he just needed some time to go back over the report, and we need to define the scope, because if you remember that report was very vague. He just hit some highlights all the way down, so we're trying to expand on those scopes as far as, because he had fire alarm systems, security systems, a lot of different things, but we need to expand on those scopes to try to narrow that down.
Right, and the sooner the better to get a plan, because that probably be summer work and our summer's shorter and, that kind of work's gotta get planned
like I said,
out.
I met with him on Tuesday just to introduce myself because I've never met him before, and then we start working on that scope.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Any other questions for Ms. Fitch? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Savender. Before we conclude tonight's meeting, I just want to thank and acknowledge the Department of Information Technology and the Office of Learning Support Services for the reports provided to board members. Also, the safety and security update that was provided, which will be reviewed at a later time. And announce that the board will have a special call board meeting this Thursday, the 14th at 5 p.m. The agenda should be posted soon. Madam Chairman, do you have any other updates for us at this time?
No, I don't.
Ms. Williams, any other updates?
The agenda for Thursday is already posted.
Terrific, I thank you. Is there any other business, board members?
Madam Vice Chair, just real quick before we adjourn, just one more time, next Tuesday will be a board meeting here at 6 p.m. and we will be presenting for Parent University. So parents who are watching, those who are out there on social media, if you could make it known that we will be able to share some more resources to help our parents be more in tune with what's going on with their children, and I just feel like that's very important. So make sure everyone knows that. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Any other comments? At this time, we stand adjourned. Appreciate everyone being here.